Welcome to Energy Freedom, dear ladies and gentlemen, the talk show organized by the Energy Club, which is a leading Ukrainian think tank in matters of energy. Thank you for taking part. Please, whoever is not delivering the presentation, keep your mics off because we are being streamed on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn pages of the Energy Club, and we are interested that people hear us without any hindrance and see us, of course. We do not set a strict time limit today, but we understand that you have a lot on your hands, so please speak briskly, up to the point, and I'm sure that you'll be able to do this. The European policy of diversification of natural gas supplies and implications for the Russian gas exports is the topic today. And we all know that as the world's largest oil and gas exporter, Russia is an important player in the global energy market. However, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia and the subsequent Western sanctions have already influenced the choice of future oil and natural gas sources and routes. The United States announced a ban on oil imports from Russia. The European Commission intends to increase purchases of liquefied natural gas from the United States against the background of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the threat of cutting off gas supplies from the Russian Federation. This was announced on the 31st of March by the European Commission spokesman Eric Mamer at a briefing in Brussels. So what is the reaction in Ukraine? What are the actions Ukraine can undertake in view of this is going to be our today's topic. And the first person to speak, I give the floor to Oksana Ishuk. She is the Executive Director of the Center for Global Studies Strategy 21. Ms. Ishuk, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Andriy. So first of all, I'd like to say that it was unprecedented for Europe steps. At the end of March, the European Commission have adopted the plan to reduce the consumption of Russian gas for about 100 billion cubic meters in 2022. This means that this year the consumption of Russian gas should be reduced to 2/3. You know that consumption of Russian gas in Europe now is about 46% from the general export of gas in Europe. The plan this was announced, but there are such members such as Germany that would not to implement such plans because Germany is the first consumer of Russian gas in Europe, and they are not able for now to make such steps like not decommission nuclear energy this year and the next year. This step will be the most effective, but they will not to do would not to do this. And there are a lot of other countries like Poland or Bulgaria who would like now to be more effective in this. They make some steps to get rid of Russian gas because, you know, yesterday Russia said that they would not supply gas to Poland and Bulgaria. And generally speaking, Poland and Bulgaria, they have possibility to get rid of Russian gas. For example, Poland, they have Baltic pipe that will be commissioned this autumn, and they have also LNG terminal in Svinoujsce with capacity of about 7 billion cubic meters. So they have possibility to get rid of Russian gas, as well as Bulgaria also. Russia would make some pressure, but Bulgaria have interconnector with Greece to get rid of Russian gas, and they have possibility to obtain this gas from Turkey LNG terminals and from Greece interconnectors that will be commissioned in July this year. The countries of Europe have possibility to get rid of Russian gas, but some of them would not make concrete steps and are not able to make possible full energy embargo on oil and gas, such as Germany. Also, some positive signs are from France, which is also major economy in Europe. But all the same, these steps of Euro Commission are this plan that was adopted at late of March. It could be said that this plan is more declarative, because such great economies like Germany, they are not able to make concrete steps like increasing of coal and nuclear generation for this year and for next year, because this will be in conflict with European Green Deal. So you know that some steps declarative are adopted, but whether they will be implemented, this is a great question. And so only a full embargo on Russian oil and gas will be help for Ukraine in this war, because Russian oil is bloody oil, and every barrel of Russian oil and every cubic meters of Russian gas is financing for war in Ukraine.
Thank you, Ms. Ishuk, not only for painting a rather vivid picture of what is happening, but also for suggesting some explanation for the reasons of the contradictions that exist within the European Union. And now, to the attention of those who are watching us, you may write your questions to our speakers in the comments parts of Facebook and YouTube pages that you are watching us on. Let's listen to Lise Gert van Vliet. He's the business developer at the Ukrainian Energy Exchange.
Yes, thanks a lot, Andrei. And thanks a lot for the invitation to the Energy Club. And yeah, I hope that all of you are in relative safety. I'm currently the business developer at the Ukrainian Energy Exchange, where I started in the beginning of September. And currently, due to the situation in Ukraine, I'm also working part-time as a policy advisor for power and gas markets at the European Association for European Energy Exchanges in Brussels, that is Europex. This organization is called. And today I wanted to briefly sketch the situation in the EU, because I'm currently also working in Brussels, so I see a lot of the policy documents that are being adopted and a lot of the directions that the European Commission and the European Union want to go. And first of all, I would like to state that the energy trilemma that we know, which is on the one hand energy security, on the other affordability, and the third one is sustainability. I think in the European Union in general and many of the member states, a lot of focus was on affordability and sustainability, but not enough on energy security over the last years, which is also why we now see that in the EU we still import 90% of our gas that we use, and with Russia providing about half of this of the imports that we have. So the European Commission outlined a plan to make Europe independent from Russian fossil fuels before, or well before 2030, starting with gas. But as Oksana just mentioned, I can understand that it sounds like a very far away plan and nothing concrete for now. But still, I would like to sketch the broader policy framework in which this takes place and some of the issues that I see also based on the questions that were posed. So I think one of the leading documents in this regard is the Repower EU strategy and a toolbox that the EU Commission has published earlier to deal with the rising energy prices in Europe, which is also one of the issues that we face. And on the one hand, rising energy prices are nothing compared to what Ukraine is facing now, but it is a very important element because it also for the social stability in our countries and not something to be disregarded. Together with this Repower EU and toolbox, there was also recently a gas storage proposal, which makes mandatory gas storage in Europe to each member state. And they're also working on market investigation and reviews. And the member states themselves also take actions. For example, I'm currently situated in the Netherlands, and they just announced that they will stop importing Russian fossil fuels by the end of the year. Thereby taking actions such as pumping more gas from the Groningen field that we have this year. We have attracted an additional floating LNG terminal to increase capacity. We are compensating companies for filling the gas storage facility that we have here at Bergenmeer. And the government is really pushing for energy savings, greener policy, and importing more energy from other countries. But there, of course, the question is from which countries. So the Repower EU plan that I mentioned focused on the one hand on diversifying gas supplies, mainly via higher LNG imports and pipeline imports from non-Russian suppliers, but also focusing on biomethane and renewable hydrogen production. And on the second part, focused on the reducing the use of fossil fuels in our homes, buildings, industry, and the power system. By boosting things such as energy efficiency, increasing renewables, and electrification, and addressing the infrastructure bottlenecks that we still have. So with the first part about diversifying gas supplies, I think one of the main issues that is also identified by ENTSO-G, which is the European network of gas TSOs, is that currently gas flows from Norway and other alternatives to Russian gas are already close to their maximum. And it's very hard to attract more sources and more gas from these countries. And I think as most people know that Norway has already been on a peak demand for a longer time and it doesn't have the real flexibility to export a lot more. And this is particularly an issue for Southeast Europe. And there we see that one of the issues now is that we decided to invest less in gas over the last years. Meaning that currently we face a shortage of LNG capacity, and this will take time. I mean, there's now a lot of investment being made in LNG terminals. I know Germany has big plans to invest quite heavily in it, but the question is then when will this come online? And I think, for example, a good example here was Poland, which has very focused over the last years to become independent of Russian gas, and you can really see that they're now reaping the fruits from this because they are currently in a very good situation relatively regarding their energy security. Not only in LNG is this an issue, but also for pipeline investments. And I remember very vividly that I attended a meeting a year ago in which there was a meeting between the European Commission, the energy community, with SOCAR and the Azerbaijani Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And there I remember quite vividly that the Azerbaijanis asked for certainty and for investments because they could indeed increase the flows of gas, where they could double the flows of gas going to Europe, but then investments were needed and a clear commitment from the EU was needed. But a year ago, this was very, very hard because for some reason, or as we all know, with the Green Deal, it seemed that there was not really a willingness to invest in gas anymore. And I'm talking here, of course, about the TAP and the TANAP pipeline. And then about North Africa, because I also saw that one of the questions related to what North African countries could export more gas. And here I think Italy is really on the forefront. It's already signed deals with Algeria and Egypt, and also with Congo and Angola. But again, this will take a longer time to come online, especially for Congo and Angola. And the issue then is also that the regions, the export volumes from North Africa have already dropped a bit over the last quarter. And it's already at a very high level given compared to the previous years. And the question is how much spare capacity would there then be? And additionally, also consumption domestically in these countries is rising. So the question is then how much will be made available for exports? And regarding the second part of the Repower EU plan, which was focusing on reducing the use of fossil fuels in our homes, I was actually yesterday in a meeting with the DG Ener, which is part of the European Commission. They had a stakeholder meeting, and there a lot of industry representatives were able to give their opinion and some of the issues they see. So I can here quickly go through some of the issues that we see, that the industry sees in this regard. And these are really industries such as permitting issues that there are still for renewables, but also for gas projects. And here, especially in the Netherlands, I can also mention that to have a new project for gas, especially in the North Sea, it takes a lot of time and it's a lot of effort in order to get it done. Secondly, it's really now being discussed whether or not to have a cap on energy prices in the EU, and really some voices that are now discussing whether not to limit the workings of the internal energy market. And most notably, on Tuesday, Spain and Portugal announced already an agreement with the European Commission to cap the price of gas in the wholesale electricity market to 40 euros a megawatt hour, slowly increasing to 50. But this would again would really contribute to a lack of investment in renewables because it would take away the price signals. So this is really also a danger that we're facing now. And additionally, also the role for demand-side flexibility and response was mentioned. Regarding Ukraine and the supply sources, as a business developer for an exchange, I'm currently not so much into really looking for additional supplies for Ukraine. But I know that when I was at the CGAS meeting in a month ago, a bit more than a month ago, there was already some good discussions between Turkey and the Ukrainian side ongoing for a potential use of an LNG platform that they have in Turkey. And also the potential use of the Trans-Balkan pipeline for its export or for its delivery to Ukraine. But maybe other speakers can pick up on this later. And then finally, before I will finish my statement, is that how can price changes in the EU and Ukraine? Well, especially then in the EU, we can see that prices can change very quickly and very rapidly and to a very high level. Also yesterday, we saw again that when Poland and Bulgaria, and when it was announced that there might be a cut of gas to Poland and Bulgaria, already the month ahead contracts on the TTF trading hub rose from 91 euro megawatt hour to 107, and then dropped back again to 99. But you see that there is just this enormous volatility at an already high price. And I think the most important thing now in the Netherlands and in the EU in general is that there is a change of mindset, and that we have to kind of use these high prices as an opportunity also to speed up the energy transition and to make sure that there's the sense of urgency also in the European citizens, that that affects us all, and that we can also ourselves help to increase our energy security and decrease our reliance on Russian gas. Sorry if I'm a little bit over time, but thanks a lot for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to the other speakers.
Thank you very much, Lisa, for this very streamlined presentation, and special thanks for taking us beyond the borders of the European Union, or indeed the so-called Western world, because the public discussion on this issue often tends to omit these countries and entire regions. Let's give the floor to Andriy Mezovets. He's the president of the Gas Traders of Ukraine Association.
I'm very glad. Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yes, yes, very good.
I'm very glad to see everyone alive and well. It's extremely important in times of aggression against Ukraine. And I'll say banal truth that Russian aggression against our country would be impossible without huge revenues that our northern neighbor has received, is receiving, and will continue to receive, unfortunately, at least in the near future from energy sales. That is why we sincerely welcome any steps taken by European Union members to impose restrictions of purchase of gas, oil, coal, up to full embargo. Of course, we're very hard that after all the deaths of our countrymen, we need to deal with maniacs who run a monopoly northern state. On the other hand, we have to be realistic and also understand that it's not always possible to immediately stop buying Russian gas and other resources. And in this case, we have clearly understand the reason for the lack of such steps or their very slow implementation. This can be as a large gas consumption, which can be quickly replaced by other sources. The focus of energy-intensive industries on the stable and cheap resource from the Russia. In this case, there is no other way, out, but to change the resource to maybe more expensive, but at the same time more stable. Yes, this will lead to slowdown or maybe partial stagnation in these industries, but what is the alternative for this step? Dependence on an insane supplier, which, as we see, can interrupt the supply at any time? I don't know. And there may be other reasons, the worst of which is political. Unfortunately, we still have European leaders support Russia aggressions. It's therefore not surprising that these European countries are opposed to the embargo. What to do with this? In my opinion, this requires a consolidated position of the entire European Union, at least in terms of buying of strategic gas reserves determined for each country. This approach will significantly reduce Gazprom chances of dictating by negotiation with each country separately. We have also not to forget about technological aspects. Using gases weapon can be achieved, but we believe it will be the opposite in the near future. Consumption will be redirected to other sources, and will there be such an opportunity for energy production in Russia at that moment? The ideal option for the European Union is to diversify supplies without any Russian source. In my opinion, this is quite an achievable goal in near future. So this is my small things, and thank you to hear me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mizovets, because however small your contribution is, it is always weighty. Let's now hear what Professor Konrad Swirsky has to say. He's a professor of the Warsaw University of Technology and the Chief Executive Officer of Transition Technologies.
Welcome to all participants. Hope you can hear me. Yeah. Hello.
Very well.
Yep. Okay. Now, after 24th of February, our thoughts are continuously with Ukraine, Slava Ukraina. You know, I personally had an office in Kyiv, so it is all those issues are very close to my heart. You know, we have many employees from this country, and I would like to convince you that maybe it's not so visible from your side, but the strategical decision of the European Union has been taken. In the nearest future, the Europe will get rid of any kind of the Russian supplies, you know, not only gas, but also oil and coal, you know. I know the European Union in some sense considered as a bunch of the countries which reacts rather slowly, had a lot of discussion, but this is the style of the European Union. But as a member of the European Union and knowing what's going on this energy market, I'm fully convinced that really the decision is taken and some of the processes were activated. We need only to have some time, you know. As some of the previous speakers said, you know, the situation is as following: that the total consumption of the Russian gas in Europe is about 150 billion cubic meters. Any kind of the estimation is like that during 1 year we can reduce it by 2/3, you know. It's still 40 of the 50 billion remaining. It means there is a lack of this 40 of the 50 billion cubic meter of gas. And also the situation of many European countries is different. You know, not every European country has an access to LNG terminals. Of course, there are constraints with the pipelines, with the existing pipelines. You cannot, you know, transfer the gas to any countries. But what is the more important, it was mentioned by the Lisigert, you know, we need to have some time to activate the supply from the different regions, you know. It already happened, you know, the North Africa's, Norway is shale gas in the US, you know. And at any of this region, you know, there are desperately efforts, you know, to produce more gas on the market, you know. We need to wait about 1 to 2 years, you know. It is estimated in 2 years, you know, the Europe completely reduced the dependency of the Russian, not only gas, but only all the supplies, energy supplies. Russian will be get rid of the European market and also get rid of the, you know, any civilized market, you know. I can give you the example of the Poland. You know, Poland was mentioned. You know, we are in a little bit better situation, and of course, you know, we are closer to Ukraine. And you know, I can say, you know, probably for 100% of our society, your war is also our war. You know, we know that after Ukraine, it would be the Baltic states or even Poland. You know, so definitely we don't want to pay any euro, any dollar for Russian resources, which will be converted to the ammunition or tanks, you know, and used in the war, you know. And in Poland, you know, already we had a plan to get rid of the Russian supplies, especially in the gas. We had a very bad experience with the Gazprom. And let's say this policy, you know, was decided about 10 years ago, you know. So we built the gas terminal in Świnoujście. And also we almost completed the new pipeline, which is called Baltic Pipe. You know, it is connection to the Western system of the gas pipelines, you know. You know, our situation is maybe simpler, you know, because the total consumption of the gas in Poland is about 20 billion cubic meter. It's not so big, you know. Half of that it was the Russian gas, you know. And already Poland decided, you know, not to continue the long-term contract with the Gazprom, you know, which expired this year. So Poland was prepared, you know, to resign from the Russian gas at the end of the year. 2 days ago, you know, it started completely the new situation. You know, Poland refused to pay for the Russian gas in rubles, like it was a request from the Gazprom, and Gazprom cut off the supply through the Yamal pipeline. You know, so Poland is not consuming any Russian gas anymore. You know, and won't be consuming any Russian gas in the future. And no, we will take the gas, you know, first from the LNG terminals, second from these new pipelines. You know, there is a little bit threat because, you know, this new pipeline, you know, this Baltic pipe need to be completed and activated on the 1st of November. And there is still some work to be done, but I think, you know, everything, all the efforts will be, you know, sacrificed to complete this pipeline. And also we have some increased capacity of the exchange, you know, with the borders, with the Germany, with the Czechia, Slovakia, and also we have the connection with the Lithuania, and we can share the LNG terminal in Lithuania. So Poland it's not depending on the Russian gas at the moment, you know. The only threat at the moment, you know, is what I mentioned at the beginning. If there will be a alternative gas on the worldwide market, you know. But I can assure you that the Poland won't buy any cubic meter of the Russian gas, you know, and anymore. And this will be simply the policy. And everybody in Poland understands, you know, that even the higher price of the energy, higher price for the heat, and higher price for the gas is necessary at the current situation, that we cannot support the Russia at the moment. But look optimistically that the same policy will be in the whole Europe, maybe a little bit, you know, not so, no, will take some time. You know, there are also some positive signs even from Germany. For example, you know that Gazprom Germania assets were taken control by the German Federal Organization. So Gazprom is no longer supervising the gas storage system in Germany, and it's slowly, step by step, simply excluded from the German market as well. You know, so officially in 2024, you know, the Germany will stop any kind of the deal with the Russia. I think it may happen, you know, even much earlier. You know. Regarding the Poland, you know, we completely stop import anything, you know, this year. You know, as I said, gas is over. Coal, there is official regulation by the government that any kind of the import of the Russian coal will be stopped this month. And also the decision that any kind of the import of the Russian oil will be stopped up to the end of this end of this year. You know, so no, we forecasted, you know, as a Poland forecasted such kind of that threat, you know, earlier, you know, and it's a little bit better situation that any other European countries. We invest in the gas terminals, we invest in the pipelines, you know. And I'm convinced, you know, the same path will be done in any other European countries, and the European Union will get rid of Russian gas, you know. The last items, you know, we mentioned the Green Deal, you know, and European policy. No, 1 year ago, you know, we live in completely, you know, different world. You know, the price of energy increased 5 or 6 times. You know, the price of gas as well. 1 year ago, in Europe, we focus on the decarbonization and the green energy. Now we are completely in the different system, you know, and all the companies and all the countries, we need to adjust to this different price level. But Europe still is not forgetting about the Green Deal, but the Green Deal is rather focused on such kind of the item that any megawatt hour of the renewable energy or gigajoule of the energy produced without the fossil fuels, it means 1 ton of fossil fuels less in the import, you know. So we may expect, you know, the still continuation of the policy of development of the renewables, because it's the easiest way of the releasing the dependency of the Europe on the fossil fuels, you know. But I think, you know, we will hear this in the nearest weeks, you know. In Europe, decarbonization is replaced by the diversification first, you know. So it means that the first primary target will be get rid of the Russian fuels, Russian gas, Russian oil, Russian coal, but together with the decarbonization. We will go back to the full path of the decarbonization after solving the problem with the dependency of the gas, which is particularly important for Poland. I don't know if you know, our energy sector mostly depend on coal. And our plan was to first convert some part of the power plants into gas and later into the renewables. We need to change this policy, you know, because we cannot at the moment, you know, increase our gas consumption in our countries. You know, we still need to stay with the old power plants and different types of the generation, but I'm fully sure that also it will be accepted by European Union. There is many talks about that, you know, and as I said, in this broad picture means, you know, that the decision in the European Union is taken, you know. In some countries, it's going very fast and rapid, like in Poland, In some, you may be a little bit disappointed, but I'm really sure that the next 1 to 2 years, it means that any kind of the Russian export to Europe will be over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Swirsky. And believe me that many, many people in Ukraine are not only grateful to Poland for giving us support, but also for the staunch stance and position that Poland is displaying in this entire energy issue. Thank you. And we may be joined soon by another Pole, but Mr. Bielowski is still making his way to join us. And I invite Inna Antipova, who is the CEO of ENGIE Energy Management Ukraine, to take the floor.
Thank you very much. So first, I would like to thank you for the organization of this event. It is a real pleasure to speak here. It is a real pleasure to hear to all the speakers and to exchange thoughts. So thank you for that. And it is indeed important in these difficult days. So first, what I would like to say, I would like to mention the fact that actually for a very, very long time, European gas market was to a certain extent isolated from the global gas market. So which means that, for example, if in Asia and America there was LNG supplies, but and with its specific prices, but European was isolated from these trends, so to say, because European gas market has a lot of Gazprom gas and under long-term contracts and the prices. So that's why for a very, very long time, Europe got used to this fact that cheap gas is available, and this cheap gas comes from Gazprom, and it comes from east to west, and all the infrastructure actually was built in Europe for, again, all the main infrastructure was built from east to west. Now what we see is a huge change in the whole gas market, in the global gas market, because European gas market becomes a part of this global structure. And this is a certain crisis, but this is also a shift of the European market, and this will not be easy. This cannot be unpainful for all the customers, for all the participants, market participants. That is true, and but this is something that we that we actually has to make, and we actually have to make, and we must survive in these circumstances, because so what we see now is that the prices in the European market, you may see that TTF, the main indicator of the European market, since the invasion of Russia in Ukraine, is going up and down. It's like a roller coaster, and we understand that the reason of this market prices is not actually is not reasoned by any market factors, any market events, but only by this invasion. Because the market is uncertain if the gas flows will continue or if not, or what will be the substitution of Russian gas, what will be the next package of sanctions, and this uncertainty actually provokes the huge violation at the European gas market. And as a result of this violation, and as a result of high gas prices, actually Gazprom is making profit on these high prices, because as all the speakers told, it is impossible for now in Europe to refuse gas from Gazprom, and the plan to reduce it to two-thirds is an ambitious plan, but also we need to understand that, for example, if we reduce the gas supply from Gazprom, but at the same time the prices would be incredibly high as they are right now, actually Gazprom will continue to make the same money, less gas but more money. So what I would like to mention is that in parallel with the reduction of gas supply from Russia, we need also to make some certainty to the market so that market would not feel uncertain about their supplies tomorrow. And this is exactly what now I think all the European ministers are thinking right now, how to make sure that the market is more or less stable and the prices are more or less stable. And the sources for diversification of gas in European are more or less the same, and we all know them. And the huge will fall on LNG supplies, and it could be US LNG, it could be Qatar LNG, there could be some Algerian gas also. But we need to understand that, of course, Europe was so much used to this to this Gazprom gas that now it is a very painful move, and which has to be made, but I would say that it's kind of surgery. And also we need to understand that all these LNG supplies, it is good, of course, and this is something that should be done, but a long way has to be made in terms of adapting infrastructure to these flows, because as I said, the infrastructure in Europe was made to make it possible to move big volumes, big amounts of gas from east to west. But now, if the situation changes, and there will be a huge need of infrastructure vice versa from west to east, and this also would require a huge amount of investments and also a strategic plan and actions from all the countries for investment projects to do that, and to respond to this new challenge that we are facing. And but what I would like to mention is indeed that from my point of view, the price issue is the most important one, because whatever we do, we need to somehow make the market participants more or less calm and stable in terms of prices, because these volatile prices and high prices could result actually in the fact that whatever we do, but Gazprom still gets the money. So actually, this is what I would like to mention, and thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Ms. Antipova. And if you mention surgery, then your calm and reassurance are a good therapy for those who have any doubts in that this is doable. Well, I don't see Maxim Belavsky joining us, and there are so far no questions from the audience. So we will sum up this conversation. And I invite Oksana Ishchuk to suggest what are the takeaways from this discussion. Hello.
Hello. So the takeaways of this discussion is that we need full embargo of Russian gas, but unfortunately, it is maybe not impossible in 2022. If the Germany and another countries of European Union will provide such a policy of not concrete steps. I mean, not reducing the share of Russian gas and not increasing the share of coal and nuclear energy in 2022. But another positive takeaway is that full embargo will be possible in, for example, in the perspective of 2025. Why? Because there are capacities of Qatar, Australian, and US LNG will be on stream. Also, there will be more LNG capacities built in Europe. I mean, more floating storage and regasification units will be placed in Europe. So we have possibilities to get rid of Russian gas, but unfortunately not in these months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Shuk and Andriy Mizovets.
I would like to mention my message is that Europe needs to formulate common policy of buying and speed reducing buying gas from Russia sources. That's the main reason to cooperate this direction. I think that's all.
Thank you very much. And we are joined by Willem Korpels, who is the director of the ERU group. And we value his participation not only for the fact that he possesses expertise and experience, but also for the fact that he is celebrating or marking his birthday today. So happy birthday to you, and make us happy by your intervention. Willem? Well, it's either some technical problem. Oh, yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, go ahead.
And greetings from Istanbul.
Hello, Willem.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hello. Okay, connection is very bad. I'm in Istanbul. I was in Moldova.
Could you please raise the level of your sound? No, presumably there's some. Willem,
victory and peace for Ukraine.
There seems to be some technical problem. If you could leave the meeting and then rejoin, the situation may become better. And meanwhile, I'll ask Inna Antipova to sum up the takeaways from this meeting.
I would agree with the previous speakers, and I would agree with my colleagues that indeed I believe that the European countries, so this is a long way to go, and it is given that it is actually gas prices, and this issue is very, very sensitive, not only for the countries, but also for the customers who also need to understand the reason why it is done. So I would really hope that the actions of the countries in Europe would be joined. They will be moving in a common understanding of what has to be done accurately, without unprecedented moves, and no matter how fast and quick we want this issue to be solved, but there should be great precautions taken in order not to harm also the European gas industry, not to harm the European industry and the whole industry of the EU. So and my hope is that and actually last days, they demonstrated that indeed Europe may unify facing such a huge aggression, such a huge strategy, which we have. I hope and I believe in the fact that European Union is not only union by its name, but also the union by its spirit, and that is my biggest hope and my belief in the fact that together with European Union we also will overcome this tragedy and this crisis that we are experiencing right now.
Thank you, Ms. Antipova. May I also suggest that you not only can hope, but you are doing your bit in realizing what you are talking about. And we are, just as I was starting to say that Mr. Kopusl is again with us. He vanished from the screen. So logically, Professor Swirsky will sum up the entire discussion.
As I said, once again, let's be a little bit optimistic, as I think, the process has started, this winter will be the most important, and the next winter, after the next winter, there will be no gas, and no any other energy resources from Russia in the European Union market, Please, once again, think about the European Union, not only as something very fixed, which is taking a decision extremely fast, but rather an organization which was, accustomed to make a compromise and discussion between many countries. But if something is decided in the European Union, it means that later the policy will be fixed, And I think, it's the moment, that everything has started, and all the countries mentally agreed, that they need to switch off any kind of the Russian supplies, In some countries, it will be immediate process, like in Poland, In some countries, it will take a little bit longer time, But final outcome will be one, The Russia is not regarded as a supplier, or something, the part of the civilized world, if Russia continues the war in Ukraine, So it will happen, Let's be a little bit patient, From the Polish side, I can promise that Poland is doing everything what Poland can do, So we will get rid of the Russian supplies, and we may rather think about the future cooperation and maybe the building, the gas pipelines, with Ukraine, strengthen our connection, utilization of the gas storage in Ukraine in the future, and also rebuilding the power transmission line, which gives you the chance to export the energy to Poland and the European Union. From many years, I was one of the biggest supporter of the cooperation between Poland and Ukraine, because I think, it's kind of the must, for both our countries, and especially, during the war and after the war, which I'm fully sure will be winning for Ukraine, there will be time, to strengthen our cooperation, and to join the Ukraine to European Union, and also to be a valuable member of the EU. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. And after such interventions and such summing up of what we were talking about, you don't really need the moderator to pronounce the final word. So thank you once again, and I hope I will be able to thank you once and once again for your future participation and also for the materialization of your forecasts. This was the energy freedom. Even if you don't take part in it, please watch it, because such experts as you are, you can glean something very, or to quote Professor Swirsky, little bit of optimism, little bit of resolution of the issues, and a little bit of patience. Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.